Well, friends, things have certainly seemed to have gone a bit cray-cray over the past week, especially over this past weekend, sadly. As I warned it would in last week's Teatime episode, we have such intense energies coming in continuously before this year comes to a close. We have these past week, we've had really intense, busy energies. We saw more predictions flowing into fruition, and we're just 2 weeks away from flowing into 2026. Can you believe it? There is definitely an acceleration in time and space because 2025 flew by like never before. And I have so much to cover on today's episode, starting with the incoming transits that are really important that you know about, especially the final new moon of 2026, and how this is going to affect us, both personally and how it's going to affect the entire collective, and how and why you should be taking very good advantage of these coming 2 weeks and that new moon coming up on the 19th. It was a while back. Maybe a year, maybe over a year ago. I can't keep track. I get so many visions and things. But you may recall I had visions of a Pow Pow event taking place on a beach. Remember me talking about that? I talked about a fear type of attack happening on a beach. And sadly, this became a very, very sad reality for our friends down under in Australia. And this is a place that many would have never expected such a horrific event to play out. I would have never expected. I didn't even realize they had guns still there. I thought they took all their guns. I guess all their handguns. They still have hunting guns. As everybody should be able to have hunting guns, at least. Sad thing played out. And I warned of coming attacks around religious events, institutions, and attacks around Christmas time, or around holidays or specific holidays. That just all happened to take off on the first day of Hanukkah. No coincidence there. Over there in Germany. Remember, they're a day ahead of us in the United States. German law enforcement, perhaps actually at the same time, prevented some type of a huge Christmas attack from coming, allegedly. I'll tell you about that today. But could there actually be more plans from these extremists, maybe even from the dark underground governments? Of course there is, and I got some predictions and things to share with you today. United States just announced that 18,000 terror-connected folks crossed over the borders during the last administration. 18,000. So is that true? Are they exaggerating? And is United States, next in line for these senseless acts of violence from these extremists? I have no doubt. Many countries are. We'll talk about that today. And a few huge announcements and confirmations today around my past predictions around silver, something we've been talking about an awful lot this year, an awful lot. And yes, specifically silver. Other things too, but specifically silver. There's some shocking information that I came across, and you're going to want to hear about that. And you're going to want to hear, especially if you are a silver stacker and you're stacking up and saving some silver, you're going to definitely need to hear about this today. And even if you're not and you're looking to invest, you're going to want to hear about this today. Another Pow Pow event at a university in the United States claimed 2 lives, unfortunately. A shocking Hollywood homicide. We had the culling of the ostriches, and now we have this agenda in France to cull thousands of cows. Moo. Not fair. In turn, this is bringing about big farmer protests that erupted in France, Germany, Greece, and guess what else? Santa Claus is coming to town, friends, and he's got a whole bunch of predictions to stuff into your stocking. So get that tea ready, friends, because it's Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, baby. Welcome back to the Love Shack studio, beautiful tribe. I hope that you all had a productive and positive week and weekend, even due to circumstances that played out across the globe, as we once again witnessed more craziness playing out on this world stage. It's like a world Hollywood stage, isn't it, friends? It's crazy. And I warned you all last week, or warned that there would be some incoming transits and sun activity that did kick in the past weekend that would make the weekend really intense. I also warned of a big event taking place, perhaps in the way of fear attacks, and even major earthquakes, which we didn't see. Japan did get another 6.7 and still activity's high there. But we didn't see the big 8.0 yet, or higher that I feel was coming. Other than that, I said fear attacks, and sadly this did come into fruition over the past weekend, as you know by now, for our friends down under in Australia. who witnessed what they're calling, or at least mass media is calling, the worst terror attack in history. Not sure if that's true or not. Of course, you can't believe everything mass media tells us, but regardless, it was a really horrific event. The hit beachgoers at Bombi Beach in Australia. And y'all already know about the horrible, tragic story without me having to go into any of the details. And it was a while back. I'm not sure exactly when that I had visions where I spoke of seeing, still remember these visions very clearly, where I had visions of seeing a shooter with pow, perhaps multiple shooters, on a beach causing some type of horrors and fear attacks. If any of y'all, I know some of y'all, not a lot, maybe a lot, I don't know, but I know some of you take notes of all my predictions. So if you can look back on your notes, find out when I said this specifically, I greatly appreciate it. Greatly, because I know I did. And I know I said it more than once, actually. But I think it was sometime last year. Now, sadly, this also fulfills other predictions and warnings that I made around coming fear attacks and them occurring around holidays. Christmas, large gatherings of folks, of course, always large gatherings of folks, because it was a large gathering in Australia for Hanukkah. And Australia is not the one country that I would have come to my mind, I don't know about y'all, when I think of something like this kind of a fear attack of such magnitude taking place. I didn't think y'all had guns there still. Maybe that's just handguns, but obviously you do have hunting guns. Everybody should be able to have the right to hunt at least. Yeah, I would have never thought Australia. And when I saw the vision over a year ago, I believe it was, of folks, in my vision I saw folks scattering on the beach. I saw them scattering on the beach. It felt tropical to me, and I'm sure Bombi Beach is probably tropical in comparison to where I live, or United States compared to Australia. I would consider Australia being more tropical. And I would think, but I'm not really so sure, that it's going to end with just Australia, sadly I say. If you think it's going to end with Australia, think again, because there's more to come, unfortunately. Did you just see recently Tulsi Gabbard came forward along with this guy that I'm going to show you and talk about today during a security conference with concerns of how many extremists are now hiding right here in the United States of America? They're claiming upwards of 18,000 people. 18,000. That's a large army, friends. That is a very large army. Creepy. Just give a quick listen to this first, and then we'll talk about it.
During the House Homeland Security hearing, listen.
CTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who, under normal circumstances, would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country.
The director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, would go on calling it the nation's top threat, pointing directly to Afghan refugees let in by President Biden after the Taliban takeover, the disastrous exit. Let's bring in the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. And director, I think you were probably one of the only ones not shocked by that number. I was stunned by it.
18,000 is a shocking number for sure, and especially what he said, that it is the top threat to the United States of America. What have I been telling y'all for years now? Going back to some type of horrific visions that I have seen and shared with you all. That sad tragedy that played out in Australia is nothing in comparison to what the extremists have planned. Doesn't mean their plans will go through and we can hold in the light that they don't. They have plans. And, as I always said, they hide. They hide within and beneath our cities and subway systems and so forth, especially in big cities like New York. Remember that vision I had? I had a vision, I believe it might have been during a channeling session actually, where I saw groups of young people training at some ranch somewhere, like out in the middle of nowhere in the United States. It felt like Northwest somewhere, maybe up in the Dakotas or up near that area. And I'm actually surprised that they actually haven't hit us in some way or another by now, like in some big format. We can only hold in the light, of course, together that this never happens in our timelines and the bad guys will all be rounded up. We can hold that vision. But it just goes back to my prediction, seeing multiple, attacks happening to United States and allies all around the same time or on the same day. It just feels like that's approaching. And that was a few years ago I started to get that information. Some things take 2 to 3 years before they come into fruition. Another place that I warned of such events was our friends over there in Germany. I warned Germany of attacks, and I warned of Christmas attacks or things around Christmas, either Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or around Christmas celebrations. Might as well just say Christian celebrations. German officials, allegedly, or at least they're telling us, I hope this is true, arrested 5 people who were planning an attack. Exactly like I said, a Christmas attack. I don't know if they were going to do it on Christmas Day, but they were going to do it to one of their Christmas villages. Thankfully, they were apprehended, and I feel, unfortunately, that there are more hiding and waiting to attack in Germany. Those 5s aren't the only ones. They have little cells. I told you this years ago, little sleeper cells they set up all over the place. So if one gets busted, there's always another one sitting aside waiting to go, waiting for the red light or the green light. And I feel that I see another vision of a vehicle type of an event. A vehicle being used as a weapon. And it seems like some type of celebration of some sort, of course, outside. Could be at one of those Christmas things again in Germany. But that's where I was pulled to, Germany, where I see this happening. And I feel that this is also going to come to France as well. France. I feel some type of plan is already in the works for Paris. Because all I heard today was, Paris, oh Paris, beware. Paris, oh Paris, beware. They are coming in, they are going to come by surprise. And if there was any other more important thing to put out, any other important time more than ever to put this out, a terror alert to the people, it would certainly be now. Remember, they used to have this little thing, it would tell you, orange, yellow, we're in the red. Yeah, we're in the red. They need to bring that back, tell people we are in the red when it comes to being on alert for these fear attacks. Another sad event that played out was the 2 U.S. soldiers, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat, ribbit. The 2 U.S. soldiers identified as 2 Iowa State National Guard sergeants who lost their lives after an attack on U.S. troops in Syria, allegedly by the group ISIS. And I say allegedly only because don't you all remember someone telling us, I'm not going to say who that someone is, I know you know, but don't you remember someone telling us they eradicated ISIS, wiped them out, they're gone. We eradicated them. Well, they're not eradicated, apparently. Even though I knew when they told us that wasn't true. Not true. They don't ever tell us the truth. I'm kidding. Whatever the government tells us, we should believe the exact opposite. The exact opposite. Now, Syria and the current leader are going to fall really, really hard in the coming year in 2026. And I see some type of a great fire coming to Syria. And I feel that this is much more than just like, say Israel on a missile attack or something like that on the nation. I don't feel it's that. I feel it's more like something large hitting that country. Maybe this is where we see the use of maybe the tactical nuke that I saw in past visions in 2026 being used to hit Syria. I just see great fires and prayers, of course, to the family of the fallen soldiers in Iowa that were lost their lives over there. And of course, again, going back to all those in Australia with that event. And then also the 2 that were taken out at the college, which I'll tell you in a minute. But going back to nukes for a minute, and speaking of nukes, 2026 is going to be a year where we hear the word nuclear quite often, too often actually. Mostly related to nuclear energy. We're going to hear a lot about that in 2026. We're going to hear about a few issues around nuclear facilities. And I even see some type of a radiation leak coming from a nuclear power plant, causing alarm and evacuations to the local area. This isn't Chernobyl, because that's leaking, we know that. This is something new. Again, it causes alarm and evacuations. And I think that actually could be right here in the United States. I'm not sure, but it's very possible. And I feel like it does all work out with that particular one. And we're going to hear more about radiation leaking from Chernobyl, going back to that. And even concerns rising up again around the Fukushima power plant in Japan. Do you remember that? Fukushima was the power plant that was severely damaged in the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, something that I predicted back in 2011 predictions. So I'm just hoping these coming concerns, especially around Fukushima, are not due to maybe perhaps another hit from a tsunami. Because I tell you, friends, especially friends in Japan, Japan will endure at least 2 tsunami waves hitting their shores in 2026. Well, it might even be by the end of this year, but I'm thinking 2026, February, March. One of them feels less concerning to me, less concerning compared to the big one. And the big one, the big tsunami, feels to me to be more significant than the one that hit in 2011. And it feels to me that the coming quake associated with this is stronger. Stronger, of course, than the one that hit in 2011, because this one feels so strong to me that it causes a lot of damage on land. Because remember, that was off into the ocean. So the earthquake made the tsunami damage, but this feels like a combination of both. The earthquake causing damage to buildings or structures, but also then the tsunami waves. So beware, Japan. And I will do a weather prediction map scrying video probably in January at some time. The other concerns around nuclear energy would be, of course, nuclear fusion or even some type of nuclear fallout. Only just going by some of my past visions where I saw a vision of the fallout sign, nuclear fallout sign. Then I also saw the sign for nuclear radiation. Remember that? That was earlier this year, I believe. So that we're going to see also more concerns that come in around Iran and their nuclear capabilities, which will probably cause more conflict next year. And something coming up around North Korea with nuclear. So the positive news here, because there is some positive news to bring in here, I do not feel that any of us in this world will ever have to see a worldwide nuclear war. It's simply not going to happen. My guides insured me. Not in my lifetime anyway. Probably not in your grandkids' lifetimes either. Probably never. Not in this timeline. Another thing to mention here, in 2026, we're going to see across the globe more large gatherings of people, protests, events revolved around universities especially. And that, sadly, the reason I'm bringing this is in my 2026 predictions as well, that I'll be putting out little by little, because I have so many predictions, like so much. But I'm putting this out now because it aligns with crazed individuals. See, big protests and big things like that gives me a feeling that it gives opportunity to crazed individuals and psychopaths and extremists to use that to their advantage. Large crowds of people use it to their advantage in some way or another. So be mindful, and of course we talk about this every week, so be sure to always follow. Now, a sudden vision just comes to me. A sudden vision comes to me, and I see some type of an outdoor, I believe it's a university, because we were just talking about that. I see some type of an outdoor event taking place, some type of outdoor type of an event taking place. It feels to me the weather's really lovely. It's not hot out, so it's not summertime. I'm going to say it's likely springtime, early springtime weather, March, April, May at the latest. I hear somebody, it's like I'm standing there looking around, and I hear somebody talking at a podium. I can hear the speaker. So, it's some type of protest. And perhaps there's several speakers that come up to the microphone. But again, it does feel like some type of protest of some sort to me, because I see people holding signs, but I can't quite see what's written on the signs. Couldn't quite see it. But I know that they were holding signs, so we know it's a protest. And I feel that the presence of at least 2, perhaps 3 to 4 very dark energies that are standing there watching the crowd very closely. Then I hear in the distance rapid fire. Then I saw the vision of people scattering in all directions. And in the sound and in this vision, it felt to me like there were multiple weapons. People attempt to duck behind trees. I saw that in the vision and other structures. Then I heard sirens in the background. And then I heard a large boom, like a large bang or a large boom, like louder than the actual firing. So it sounded more like an explosion. Then I heard this moment of total silence, with the echoing police sirens in the background. Then I smelled something burning. So perhaps from an explosion of some sort. And I feel that I can kind of relate this to 2017's tragic event in Las Vegas, which was something I also predicted in 2017 predictions. Kind of made me feel like that, but it's not a concert. Again, it felt like, to me, like a protest gathering at a university. That's what it really felt like to me. So I hope that this prediction does not come into the light or into fruition. But my feeling around Vegas would make me think that there would be at least 60 lives that would be affected and taken during such an event, because that's how many were taken in the Las Vegas event. So Spirit's comparing it to that, and I'm not seeing a concert because I hear somebody talking at the podium. To me, that's how I would take it. Or maybe it's something that happens at a Nevada university. Not sure. Again, hopefully it doesn't play out at all, but we'll keep our eyes open for this in 2026. And speaking of pow events at universities, that was another horrific event that played out over this past weekend. And this time, it was at Rhode Island, at the Brown University, where 2 young students lost their lives. And apparently, when I'm recording this, it's the evening time. It's like 8 o'clock here on Sedona, Arizona on Monday night, the 15th. As of now, nobody's been apprehended for this. Nobody's been apprehended from this pow event. Again, when I'm recording this, because I do feel like there will be a person apprehended. It's a he. I feel like he will be apprehended. Give it a day or two. But very sad to those 2 families that are in mourning over that tragic loss, and prayers to them. With that said, friends, please be very, very mindful when you are out and about. Try to avoid large crowds. Gather, especially large crowds that are gathered near roadways. Oh no, avoid that like the plague. Be very alert. Be very alert if you're attending any type of especially religious celebrations, Christmas celebrations, obviously Hanukkah celebrations, any kind of celebration. And there's going to be more attacks, unfortunately. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's going to be attacks on synagogues, Christian churches, of course, or Christian church events, and holiday celebrations coming up before this year goes out. Also, something right at the end of December. Feels like something hits right at the end of December. Perhaps New Year's Eve. Because remember, I did have visions of New York City and the ball dropping, but that's all I had, and I didn't see anything happening. So I just felt like maybe that Spirit was showing me that as a time marker, maybe. Something on New Year's, something to do with, I don't know how to interpret that. All I saw was just the vision as if I was in New York City getting ready to wait for the ball drop. Remember that? It was a couple of months ago, Spirit showed me that. That comes to mind. So that'd be another time to really watch very, very closely. And, keep your awareness open. Keep your intuition open. I tell you these things not to bring you fear, but to bring you awareness. Because remember, awareness in itself can save your life and lots of other lives too. Beautiful souls, I just want to take a moment to welcome you back to the channel. Welcome back to the Love Shack studio. If you're new here, welcome. We welcome you with open air hugs and infinite loving gratitude. And if you are new here, you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, great meditations, great content, you want to vibe with this awesome tribe that we are building, then smash that subscribe, the bell and all, so that you get notifications. And if I don't pop up in your notifications, make sure that you check. I'm here every week, Tuesday, Wednesday, one or the other, depending on where in the world you live. And I always put out relatively 2 videos a week. Usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I might be being Tuesdays and Wednesdays because people don't seem to catch the Thursday ones as much. And they're the ones with the predictions, more predictions. You don't want to miss anything. Got to continue to feed that prediction addiction, friends. You miss one video, you may miss something important that I say or warn you of. Just saying. It's always good to be on top of things. Always good to be on top of things. Also, if you're new here, down below, even if you're not new here, down below in the description, you'll find all the links to all my social media. And my name is Joseph Tittel, by the way, a.k.a. Spiritman JT. And if you want more information out about personal readings and any information about me directly, go to my website, spiritmanjt.com or josephtittel.com, Tittel. I am Tittel, not title. Just saying. And if you use the coupon code, capital Y, capital T for YouTube, 25, you can get $25 off for the holidays between now and what's today. So now, we'll say now till Christmas Eve. Use that coupon for $25 off a session. Or gift certificates. What a perfect gift for the holidays. What a perfect gift, friends. Also, the perfect gift was all those that participated in yesterday. Well, again, I'm doing this on Monday. On Sunday, the 14th, I did at least I think close to 5 hours, at least 4 hours packed with predictions. For all those that supported the Zoom event, thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Hopefully you got your email with the recording so you can watch that. At some point, I will get that recording, the Zoom recording, up on YouTube for the monthly supporters. And being I have so much, I'm going to have to break it down, friends. I'm going to have to break it down into categories, because there's a lot. So, and I'll start putting that out, hopefully, maybe this week, but on Wednesday, tomorrow, will be my Black Mirror prophecy predictions for 2026, which I recorded over a week ago. I saved that for folks on the Zoom event. And then also there's an extended version of that will also be uploaded for the supporters of the channel. And then the members will, subscribers will see the regular version. So keep an eye out for the Black Mirror predictions. There's a lot there. And then just keep an eye out. I'll be putting out at least 2 to 3 videos, and that brings up next Tuesday. I'm not sure if I'll do a Teatime on Tuesday next week. Not sure because I have so many predictions that I could just do a prediction video, just specifically a certain category. Because I have so much, like you said, so much to talk about. Good stuff. I mean, there's good stuff, and of course, there's always not so good stuff too. And just stay on top of things. Again, subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up, love button. That'll help make sure new content from this channel and similar content from other channels pop up on your feed. And it helps the channel, and I appreciate you greatly. And don't forget to share this on your social media platforms. Speaking of social media platforms, if you get a private message on Instagram or any of them places, likely it's not me. And now my Instagram and my X profiles are now got the blue check next to them. So you'll know it's me. I don't know, did I do that for TikTok? I don't think TikTok gave me that option yet. But you'll find me. And again, if you get a private message, it's not me. Double check that and report those fake content messages from me. And that happens to other people too. So watch who you get messages from on those platforms. Let us move on. Today again is December 15th, or well, actually December 16th when you're watching this, 2025. And this is episode 195 of Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time. Yesterday, December 15th, when I'm actually recording this, we have the planet Mars flowing into the sign of Capricorn. And this is when people stop talking about things and they actually take some action, which is something we're going to see play out with governments too, suddenly taking actions in situations. Like, say, United States taking action against Venezuela. That's coming. If not by the end of the year, definitely within this 6-week window of this transit. This is when people take actions, and where in the past you would hesitate instead, you would hesitate and not take action. So you'll see that with governments. Anything they've been hesitating on, they're not going to be hesitating on anymore. And that goes for you personally and the entire collective. This is going to bring in this really interesting psychological shift for the entire collective. What you're going to notice is you're going to notice folks becoming more serious. Like some people aren't serious enough, right? People are going to become more serious. Governments will become more serious. And some folks are going to become a little bit more controlling, so watch out for that one. Watch out for that one. And some of those folks, and this just came to me because sometimes diabetes can have to do with this great need to control in accordance to Louise Hay and You Can Heal Your Life. So people with diabetes need to be aware of that over the next 6 weeks of having this need to take more control over things. And that's everybody in general. But if you're diabetic and you're doing that, it's going to affect your diabetes in some form. I know it may sound crazy, but trust me, hear me out. And of course, again, this includes governments. Governments becoming more controlling, putting in more controlling measures. This transit's going to bring with it this very strong desire for control and structure, especially governments. I can't stress that enough. And it's going to bring with it emotional detachments. It also brings in more of that rebellion type of energy, that total rebel without a cause. This is it. This is the energy. This is the transit. And this will bring more concerns and focus to border security and border control, which is really interesting. If you didn't hear about this one, President Trump just announced that he is going to be militarizing by giving 760 acres of land in California to the Navy so that they can control the border. I say to you, Mr. President, what about Mexico, or what about Arizona and Texas? Like, that's the cartel's favorite crossing points. Why ain't you putting anybody down there? Just a question, just a thought. But this is just an example of how this transit's going to kick in. I mean, he already announced it, but it hasn't happened yet. But it'll happen within this next 6 weeks. Probably happen by the end of this year. This transit can also bring about some type of an event, like a really, really big event. So it's like 6 weeks between now and pretty much the end of January. A lot of it coming in right away, though, because we have all these other transits happening, and new moon, and we're still in that 9 year, in that 9 vibration. So this transit, again, is, and all these energies can very likely bring about some type of really big fear attack. Kind of like what happened in Australia, but maybe even on a different level and a different case, different country too. So that calls for not only, here's what we got to be aware of. Some type of attacks of some sort that calls for escalations in security. Oh, well, now we need to be more secure. Now we need to do this. Because we know how governments love to do that. We know they fly flags ever so falsely so they can do things like that. Oh, but now we need to secure things. Or now you need that digital ID. Now we need to track everybody. Now we need better security. Yep. So be aware. That's coming for Australia, no doubt about it. They're going to utilize this to their own advantage, unfortunately. So I feel this is also going to be the case with a few leaders and a few very high-profile people who suddenly need to beef up their own security after some type of threats or attacks. Perhaps this could be related to members of Congress or members of parliaments. You know, some type of senseless attacks or people attempting to attack them physically, that they have to beef up their security. So you're going to be hearing about that over the next 6 weeks. And I would expect the president to be signing a whole bunch of new executive orders before we step into 2026. I bet you he breaks a record. I bet you he breaks a record for December. That just came to me. I bet you he does. Now, Capricorn does rule over armies. It rules over armies, command structures, and defense systems. So no doubt that we are going to be seeing some type of troop movements, military movements, military alerts, and I feel that we are also going to be seeing some type of intelligence operations being revealed and leaked. Remember, we're still in a time of truth coming out, information being leaked, especially with this transit that brings in intelligence organizations, operations, military, and so forth. Also over the next 6 weeks, or by late January, we're going to hear about a lot of unfortunate layoffs. Companies laying off, some companies closing their doors completely. We're going to see a lot of striking happening, a lot of labor disputes, and even a few corporate collapses that happen. Corporate collapses, corporate resignations. Governments are going to attempt to begin to suppress protests in a different way. I mean, they try to already, but really going in, maybe even sending in military troops or something to try to break up protests in different countries. So be aware of that. Because remember, they want to gain control. That's what this transit does. Oh, all of a sudden we need to have control over these people. They may even be trying to put, a stop to them completely. Of course, they're going to try to put a stop to them completely. But I feel in one country, likely it's going to be Great Britain, that's going to pass some type of an emergency law to attempt to shut down protests and protesters. Could even be France. Could be Macron. Could be your Starmer guy. Could be both of them. I feel like they pass some type of emergency law or exemption to stop protests or protesters. Just strip away your freedoms and rights, friends. Keep standing up. Don't let them succeed. Now, in this window of time, I would also expect to see some type of a high-profile arrest taking place. Not just one, multiple high-profile arrests taking place. Folks actually finally being held accountable. And we will also see the shocking filing of charges against high-profile folks. Indictments being placed. And I see some type of a charges being filed against some type of a high-profile Hollywood person. Don't know who that is. Kind of made me think of Bill Cosby and that other guy. What was that other guy's name? Oh, I can't think of it. I'm sure someone will put it in the chat room. You know, Oprah's friend, one of Oprah's friends. The next one's probably one of Oprah's friends too. This is a time, when karma is forced. So we're going to see a lot of that playing out between now and the end of January. Now, a few exciting, at least in my opinion, I think they're exciting. When it comes to transits coming up, starts with this one coming up on the 19th. That is the new moon. That is the final new moon of 2025, friends. New moon in Sagittarius, December 19th, comes in at 6:43 p.m. Mountain Time here in Arizona. And this new moon, friend, is preparing us with great opportunity to enter into the new year in that one vibration of new beginnings. Take advantage of it. This, to me, is the most important new moon of the year so far. The most important as far as planting your seeds to the future, holding your visions of the future. I call it the manifest new moon, the big manifest new moon. I did a video on that too, on manifesting and a meditation. I'll have to find that and put it up above here somewhere and down below in the description. Remind me, spirits, put that manifest video into the links. Thank you, spirits. Thank you, spirits. So this all falls into place with the new moon in Sag, just 2 days before the Capricorn solstice rings in. The Capricorn solstice rings in, and that's when the light begins to finally brighten things up once again. I love solstice. It's exciting. It's when the light begins to shine again, at least in the northern hemisphere. It's the opposite in the south, but still, light shines. What that means, the light's going to shine on a lot of truth coming up too. That was in last week's transit predictions too. Now the new moon, this is when we can truly reject the chaos that you may have been dealing with in your life. This is the time. And this is where you develop this deep need for purpose. What is my purpose? And to really tap into that purpose. It can give us the energy to witness, the energy and the willingness to really commit to things. This is where we really step into our power, and this is what I'm going to do. It's perfect right at the end of the year too. Right at the end of the 9 year before we step in. Remember, this is the final big opportunity for us in the 9 universal year to let go of things before stepping into that one vibration. That one vibration of new beginnings in 2026. So I say, take a little time to light a candle. That's what I do. Take a little time to light a candle, especially on the new moon. But you may even want to do this on the solstice, on the 21st. A candle, write down things that you wish to manifest. Things that you are, not even that you wish, things that you know that you are manifesting. Like, thank you, universe. I'm so excited I finally got that orange Jeep Wrangler I've always been looking for. Something like that. That's how I write things down. Green candles are good. I like green because green represents abundance, fertility, rebirth, good luck. It's all about planting the seeds, right? We plant the seeds into the green earth. Well, really, the earth is brown, but it turns green. And green bayberry is even better yet because bayberry is also for good luck. Many traditions, my mom had the tradition of lighting a bayberry candle both on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Because I remember, especially New Year's Eve, that was a big deal. We'd all get around, we'd all light the little green bayberry candles. I forget what my mom would say, but something good and magical, I'm sure. So that's what I prefer. Green for abundance and bayberry. I actually am waiting for some bayberry green candles to come that I ordered because they're not always easy to find. They weren't cheap either. But you could just get a regular green candle. Doesn't matter. Dedicate some of your time. Dedicate some of this time for this new moon to yourself, to your visions for the future, and for the visions of where you're stepping into in 2026. Really important, very powerful day. Another thing that this new moon is going to trigger and initiate is actually one of my 2026 world predictions that you haven't heard yet, but I'm going to share with you right here today. It's as if this new moon energy is initiating this energy or that's going to take us throughout 2026. This is the energy of moving, relocating, and even sudden migrations that take place. So you're going to notice, folks, maybe even yourself, suddenly deciding that I'm going to get up and relocate. And a lot of these people relocating are going to be relocating out of state or out of country or like distant from where they are currently. And those of you that out there that have been thinking about this for quite some time, this could be your opportunity. 2026 can be the year. It is the one year of planting seeds and planting yourself somewhere new and fresh. The transits and the energies are guiding us right into that, guiding many people into that, not all of us, because I'm staying right where I'm at. We sadly will see many folks, unfortunately, in 2026 forced to relocate due to usually weather events. I saw another one where I felt to me like maybe it was a tsunami event that caused people and folks not to return, to vacate the land. Some are going to migrate due to new conflicts that are going to ignite, and I think that may actually have to do with Iran. And then others I see fleeing with their families due to some type of issue with water crises and droughts. That's another big prediction for 2026. That's why, again, you got to subscribe. Make sure you stay on top of it as I put out these predictions for 2026. But yeah, people relocating due to water crises and droughts. I know that, what was one of them I said? Mexico City. I think the other was India, parts of India. But I don't have those notes in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that was two of them at least. So we'll see water crisis. Because one thing I can assure you for 2026, it's going to be hot. It's going to be really, really hot. Fire is a big representation of 2026. We're going to see more fires, more heat, more drought than we've seen in our lifetimes. It's not going to be fun, especially during the summer months. So always be prepared. Always have a plan. And again, keep your eye out until I get those prediction videos out to you because they will be out soon. One of them will be out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. So if you have been one of those people who want to move, use this new moon, friends, to manifest it. Remember, money can come from anywhere. Don't think about how you're going to do it or where it's going to come from. Instead, just be like, I don't know how, but it's happening. Thank you, universe. Because 2026 is a year that you can literally take that huge leap of faith. And let me tell you, you'll be glad that you did. Because I know one thing for sure. I'm sure in hell glad that I did, that I took that big leap across country back in 2019. I have absolutely no regrets. Best decision I ever made for myself. And the last time that we seen this amount of people suddenly begin to move, if we think about it, 2020. You remember 2020, after the lockdown, more people moved, more people relocated than ever. 2026 is going to beat it by a long shot. Moving on to a topic that we've been consistently discussing quite a bit this year, for a couple years now, but especially this year, precious metals, especially silver. Some alarming news for you today, friends, around silver. And this actually confirms one of my 2026 world predictions. That, again, you haven't heard yet, but I'll give you a little bit of that today. In those predictions, I felt that something really shady was coming around precious metals, especially around silver. Actually, silver, palladium, and platinum, those three, but mainly silver. And that's in my prediction. I don't know what it is specifically, but I feel like something that the government's going to do. And of course, it's going to be likely something that benefits them and not us. I believe that would be more towards the mid and latter part of 2026. And it kind of reminded me of 1933 and what Roosevelt did with the gold. And that's what I put in my predictions. And I'm not saying they're coming right away for your silver stacks. I'm not saying that at all. I do know that they are going to be making some changes. Perhaps even putting some laws into place as to who can buy or sell it or how much they can buy or sell. But I just feel like some kind of rules being put on it. And this is going to be due to the major shortages that I predicted back in 2021 that were coming for silver. It's already happening. And I wrote in my 2026 predictions a week ago. I wrote them out a week ago. And I only put them out on Zoom yesterday, Sunday the 14th. Again, I'm recording this on Monday the 15th. And then I heard about this. And I'm going to show you this because I saw it this morning. It popped up on my feed. And again, I'm recording this on Monday the 15th. Something all silver holders, in my opinion, need to hear. Must hear, regardless. Or if you're planning on investing in silver. Because we know how our governments are. We know how our leaders are. They love to sneak little things into laws and bills, right? They do it all the time. They do these bills, these bills that are hundreds and hundreds of pages long that most people never read through, just so they can sneak some shady stuff in there, strip away more of our rights. Well, they did it again, friends. Yep, they did it on December 10th. Yep. In this climate initiative bill that was signed by Congress. Give a little listen to this guy from the YouTube channel Take T. Weiss. His channel's at the bottom. Just give a listen to this.
It was laid on December 10th, 2025. The clock is ticking. This is the story of the green confiscation, and it started 48 hours ago. Let me read you the exact text. This is from Section 3, Subsection 14, Paragraph C of House Resolution 9847, signed into law on Tuesday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. In the event of a declared national emergency pertaining to supply chain disruption of materials critical to renewable energy infrastructure, the Secretary of Energy, in coordination with the Department of Commerce, is hereby authorized to conduct mandatory reporting of privately held strategic reserves and, if deemed necessary for national security, to negotiate compensation-based acquisition of said materials. Did you catch that? Mandatory reporting. Compensation-based acquisition. Deemed necessary. Let me translate that from bureaucratic doublespeak into English. They can force you to tell them how much silver you own. They can decide that the solar panel factories need it more than you do. And they can pay you whatever they decide is fair compensation and take it. This is Executive Order 6102 Reborn, wrapped in a...
I told you the government's good and Congress is good at sneaking shady crap into bills, and that is as shady as it gets. And you know they put that there for a reason. They have a plan, they have an agenda. And it's really not about the clean energy or green energy, it's about them and their control over us. And we must resist. So you can go directly to that guy's channel to hear the entire video. I would recommend that you do. This is highly concerning, friends, in my opinion. And I know silver is going to break $100 an ounce, that mark in 2026 easily. It may actually even hit $75 by the first week of January or by the end of this year. And when, to me, I feel like when it reaches around $125, which I do believe it will, I feel it will, I may actually, it's just a thought. Again, I'm not saying I'm doing this, just a thought. But when it does reach that point, I may turn my silver over into gold. Why? Well, listen to what the guy said about the bill, what they signed. Because according to that new law and that new bill, it's silver, platinum, and palladium that they want. They don't want the gold. They don't need it. The gold doesn't help them with their green energy agenda. It just makes them look good holding on to all the gold themselves and being hogs about it. It's just a thought, something I may consider. So silver is still a good investment. And let's actually top this off with even more big news around silver stackers. Yep. And again, we'll confirm my coming shortages of silver, which is already happening. They're just not talking about it. The company Samsung just announced a new highly advanced battery. And why is this good news for silver holders, friends? Well, Samsung's new battery is mostly silver-based. And it uses way more silver than any other battery on the market. That's the whole idea of it. And they plan to have this battery out and manufactured by 2027. That's right around the corner. That's 13 months away. That means they're going to demand a heck of a lot more silver, just Samsung alone in the coming year. So it's still a good investment, friends. And stay tuned every week for updates, because we keep an eye out on these things, and things can shift and change. Predictions can shift and change. Everything can shift and change. So always be on top of everything. Because 2026 predictions is another thing where I have a lot of in-depth predictions around the economy. So you're going to keep, and there's more about silver predictions, but you'll have to wait until I put that out with my economic predictions coming soon to a channel near yours. This channel, actually. So stay tuned. Over the weekend, we had the tragic and shocking Hollywood homicide that took place to Hollywood legend, filmmaker, actor, Rob Reiner, and his wife, who were taken out of this life after their throats. Yeah, that's what happened right across there. Awful, like a horror movie. Sad that now one of their sons was the person arrested as the suspect in this heinous crime against his own parents. Could you imagine? I just wanted to put this out there because my feeling on this, and it may not sound, it sounds a little weird, but my feeling on this is something isn't right with this kid's brain. And I'm not saying something's not right with him because of mental illness. That's what they'll blame it on. It literally felt to me like some form of mind control. I know it sounds crazy, friends. I know it sounds crazy, but that's my strong feeling around this. Indeed, very, very sad loss and sad incident. Definitely going to shake up Hollywood quite a bit. And actually, in overall, I think the kid might actually get away with it in some form or another, get off very, very lightly. Sad indeed. And Hollywood is going to shine, not in a good way either. Hollywood is going to shine in 2026, not in a good way, and I'll tell you why. Because more and more scandals are going to break out and become revealed around Hollywood. And many actors and many Hollywood elite are going to be moving out of Hollywood and California permanently. I know some of them already started, but it's going to be a big thing. This goes back to, again, the transits and the energies of people moving, and it just goes to show that it will affect everybody in some way or another. And it's going to affect the Hollywood and Hollywood elite. People are going to want out. Hollywood's dying, and it's moving to different territories. And I predicted that years ago too. And even the Hollywood sign falling down hasn't fallen down yet. It almost burned down. Remember that? That was last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I think that was last year. Pretty sure. Palisades, all that. Wasn't that around the same time? So yeah, the Hollywood elite moving out of the state permanently. I see some type of shocking, maybe not so shocking because we know, arrests that are going to take place around Hollywood. Kind of reminds me, as I said earlier, of Oprah's Friends, some type of arrest. I also see something like that happening around the music industry as well. There's a lot of controversy coming out of those areas next year. A lot of scandals. Should be a good show, friends. Should be a good show. This also comes from my 2026 predictions. Another part of that prediction is that we are going to see so many legends passing away in 2026, one after another. And it's going to seem really strange. It's going to seem strange. I'm sure there'll be a million conspiracies that are launched because of it. There always are. And mainly because again, a lot of these people are old. They're on their way out. But it just seems that there's so many that exit from the music industry, Hollywood, and even around sports athletes, that it's just going to seem really strange. Another thing I feel is that there's some type of a tragic motor vehicle accident that's going to claim the life of a famous athlete. And I felt that there were two of them in the vehicle. Two of them in the vehicle that perished, both very popular. They just had a great time, so they were out at a party or something. They had too many drinks. They're going way too fast, and they're going around a corner, like a bend, really fast, and it's wet. And they slide off and go off. This might even be in California by the looks of it. Because down in California, along the coast, they have those sharp bends, and you can literally see a car go off in the movies. Kind of reminded me of that. So I don't know. I mean, it could be celebrities. It reminded me of, what's his name? I just drew a blank. It's the top of my tongue and I can't say it. The actor that happened to. Really good-looking one. People put it in the comments. You don't have to put it in the comments. People know who I'm talking about. But yeah, it made me think of him. Made me think of him strongly. So hopefully it don't play out. And if it does, then maybe they should know by now. Don't let friends drink and drive. We had the culling of the ostriches up there in Canada, where they literally wiped them out in a very horrific way. It was just awful. But now, we have this agenda in France. Have you learned about this one? To cull thousands of cows. This ignited cattle. This ignited big farmer protests in France. Huge farmer protests in France. Folks fighting for the lives of their cows. This is all due to one single cow. Just one. Got something called LSD. Yeah, LSD, not the trippy drug, friends. Not the trippy drugs. Get your mind out of the gutter. LSD stands for lumpy skin disease. And I don't know about you, but I never heard of this before. I never heard about this until now. Like, they said LSD. I'm like, what? The cows are on LSD? What? Yeah, lumpy skin disease. And they're standing up. Not only are they standing up, I found it interesting that over the past weekend and over the past week, other farmers are stepping up too. We're getting all these farmer protests that are happening again. We have the farmers in Germany protesting. And I like how it's awful, but how they sprayed their manure all over the buildings. Yeah, that's a good way of showing the government. Not that they care. They'll just run out the back door and hide somewhere. And then also in Greece, farmers in Greece have taken to the streets in large numbers and in protest over different things. I know that in France, it has to do with the cattle and the LSD. One of them, I think, Greece had something to do with the butter or something. I can't remember what. But regardless, this is the awakening. They're wiping out farms all over. It's happening here in the United States. I mean, look at what they even did with the pig farming, and then China came in and bought up the pig farm companies. It's all part of their plan. They want our meat. They don't want us. They want to starve us. I know it sounds crazy. People say it's conspiracy, but it's happening. And Gates is still buying up land, and President Trump hasn't stopped China from buying land in the United States yet. Not that I am aware of. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure somebody will. But I haven't seen anything about that. It needs to happen. So prayers to all our farmers because they need it. I know I was a farmer in a past life and Grandpa was a farmer. So, yeah, I was a farmer in one of my past lives in 1860s or something like that outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Interesting enough. Anyway, moving right along. I remind you all that the 19th, the new moon, is a very strong and powerful day, as is the 21st and solstice. So I tell you, friends, expect there to be a potential for huge global events to take place, including massive earthquake, and even a total shift in the way we actually see things. So it's like waking up and all of a sudden you see things in a different light. You see things in a completely different way. That's awesome. That's powerful. So there's a whole big shift of consciousness that's happening. I mean, I felt it just over the past month. I hope you have, since 11/11, actually. Since there's sunflowers, Spirit told us 11/11 it would start, and it sure did. It sure did. And it hasn't stopped. Again, look for the new moon, the 19th. And then I also want to remind you, remember the window of time in my December forecast and predictions, if we go back to that. I said look for the window of time December 18th through the 22nd. The 18th through the 22nd. Big window of time. And what solstice is on the 21st Sunday here in the United States anyway. And so 22nd would be Monday. So that's that whole week. It's basically this whole coming weekend, friends. Beware. Another one that feels really important to me is Christmas Day. I don't know what it is with Christmas Day, but it just feels like an important marker. I'm not saying something big is going to happen Christmas Day. It just felt like a big marker of time. So does the 29th and 30th of December. The 29th and 30th of December feel more like not just marker days, because the 31st is the end of the year. Of course, that's a marker day. But it feels like something big around the 29th and 30th. So we'll have to see. And something else I wanted to mention here today is the major flooding. Yeah, there it is. The major flooding that is taking place in Washington State. A state that I warned, mostly around earthquakes and coming volcanic eruptions, but all kinds of craziness. And today I'm going to warn Washington again. It's weird. It's really weird. But bear with me, friends, especially in Washington. I feel this large wave or this large flow of water is coming out of nowhere. But it doesn't actually feel like a tsunami from the ocean. So you're safe there. It kind of made me think of Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina. Remember what was that thing broke and all the water went into the city? Felt like that. So I'm going to say that up there in Washington, either there's a dam, some type of levee, or something like that gives way, causing a very large wave to sweep across the land. And I'm not familiar with the state of Washington or what potential lies as far as this is concerned, as far as dams or levees, but it felt like, something big. because I keep having these continued visions of seeing neighborhoods in small city completely underwater. And I feel this may start from Northern California all the way up to Washington, perhaps even a little bit into Canada. Major systems are coming through. Major storm systems are coming through. Major rescues are going to happen. And there's even going to be a call from our government to help. Probably it's FEMA, not that they're very helpful, but likely them, and whoever else is willing to assist. But it seemed like a big deal, like people going there to help. And I'm not sure exactly when this occurs. It feels to me like a combination of several events happening, one after another. One of my feelings was that perhaps it could be like due to melting snow and severe rains all at the same time. So perhaps maybe we'll say the early spring months, March, April, somewhere around there. That kind of made good sense to me. I don't know what other people may think, especially our friends in Washington. Of course, it's always really challenging to put specific timelines on things. But speaking of timelines, we're going to mention that anyway, because I always pick 3 months a year that are going to be the most intense, and I was right this year. What did I say this year? They're similar this year as they're going to be next year. The month of March, 2026, super intense. The month of July, super duper intense. And then the very end of October into November, super intense. Pretty much the same as 2025, actually. Off maybe by a week or so. So interesting things. So that's why I say these large systems that are going to be hitting the west coast of the United States, especially in the northern parts in the coming months, are probably going to be February, March, maybe early April. Guess what else is coming, friends? Hey, guess what else is coming? Think clearly, friends. Think very clearly. What's coming? Time's up. Santa Claus is coming to town, friends. Santa Claus is coming to town, and I hope he stuffed enough predictions into your stocking today, because I have enough coming up for you to cover everybody's Christmas tree this Christmas with predictions. So much more to bring up to you. So many more predictions. I couldn't believe it was that long. We were on Zoom for at least 4 hours. 5 if we include the Black Mirror prophecy that I did. Again, remember that Black Mirror prophecy will premiere tomorrow. Keep an eye out for it. And for the members, keep an eye out for the extended version. Remember, there's a difference between subscribers and members. Subscribers are subscribers. We love you. You make this channel rock. Members are the ones that join down below on the YouTube platform and pay a monthly supporting fee of a cup of coffee or a little more. So in 2026, I'm going to make sure that we put more extended content out for the supporting members and those that are on the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community. The link's down below for that. Be a part of our community, whichever one you wish. Now on the Subscribe Star platform, the second level and higher, we do monthly Zoom gatherings and readings, so you might want to check that out. Remember, always check out me directly on my website, spiritmanjt.com. I'm going to answer a few questions here that are left in the chat. And still save your questions, because I think I'm not going to get them all today, because I'm going to try to keep this short, or try to keep it at an hour is always the goal. I usually end up at an hour and 15 minutes, but let's take a few questions, starting with this one. Months ago, the woman, aka victims, who worked for Epstein, held an outdoor press conference with their attorney and with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, yeah, I remember that. They stated that Trump wasn't involved in the getting caught up in traffic and that he was the only elite who helped convict Epstein. They promised to release their own list of Epstein friends whom they had relations with. Where is their list? Is it true they offered to keep quiet and they were paid off? It's beyond that. It's beyond them being paid off. It's more like being threatened that we will take out your family if you do anything or say anything. It's much, much deeper than that. And there's a lot more to that. And what they all said at that meeting isn't completely all true. There's more strands to that web of darkness than you would imagine. And I'm not saying that the president is involved with the caught up in traffic aspect, but he has some type of money involvement with Epstein. I said it in the past. Maybe Epstein was helping him with his money, laundering money. I don't know, but there was some kind of money connection between the two. That's all I can tell you. Other than that, things are going to come out about the Epstein case. I've been telling you that for the longest time. There's going to be more pictures exposed. including pictures that involve President Trump, and then videos. And that's what I'm waiting for, the videos to drop. They'll drop eventually, and we'll see a lot. But the thing is will they be held accountable? With these current energies that are in, especially with this transit for the next 6 weeks, yeah, people are going to be held accountable. So let's hope that's the case with the Epstein case. And I still say Epstein's very well and alive, being hidden and being kept secret, because he's worth more to them alive than he is deceased. I don't know why. Don't really care to know why. Maybe that's what goes back to my prediction. Remember my prediction the dead would rise and be alive again? We haven't seen that yet. It'll come. And I said that maybe about 2 years ago. So maybe that'll be 2026. The dead will rise and be alive again. Who will it be? Who will it be now? Next question. Do you think Emmanuel Macron will be one of the leaders that resign? That's in my 2026 world predictions, actually. And I have no doubt. So many are out. So many are going to be out the door. And they're going to be shocking at people resigning, some being taken out, pow, pow. Yeah, a lot. Macron is already being asked to leave, but he's stubborn and won't. And I think it's because Brigitte is on his ear and forcing him to do all this. And when she snaps, or she says, jump, he says, how high? 100%. He's tearing that country apart. Same thing's happening in Great Britain. Both of them are going to go. They're both going to be pushed out, forced to resign. Some of this, and I'm not sure if it's Macron or if it's Great Britain, Starmer, but the way I see it with Spirit is I see big protests like demanding that he be removed. And then finally I see like somebody resigning and then the whole crowd cheering. Here's what you got to hold in the light though. That someone better and somebody that's for the people goes into place. Because Europe is a mess. And Europe is very controlled by the World Economic Forum and the globalists. More than anybody. They're the most controlled. Obviously, they're ones that, with all the problems and stripping the farmers and everything else. The United States is the only one that's being resistant. Maybe that's why they don't like the president so much. We're the ones that are being most resistant to what's happening in Europe. But yeah, lots of changes in power. I was wondering how you feel about MBS. That's the Saudi Prince of Arabia. I heard that he was going to rise as the Antichrist, and I was wondering if you get that same thing. Thank you, with infinite love and gratitude. Spirit told us that we would see the rise of the Antichrist in 2025. I don't know who that could be. I mean, 2025 is almost over. We can make all kinds of assumptions. I don't think it's him. I think he's part of the Antichrist, but I don't think it's him. What if the Antichrist is actually artificial intelligence? But one that's being used by a different country. Not all AI, but maybe AI. Because remember, the Antichrist comes out of the Middle East. People are like, oh, it's Trump. They said it was Bush back when Bush was president. The Bible was talking about Middle East. It was not talking about America, because America wasn't even mentioned in the Bible at all. Unless it was as Babylon. So yeah, it comes out of the Middle East. That Saudi prince, again, I said this in the past where I felt like something shady was going on, like somebody wanted to take him out. Like one of his own people, like maybe one of his own family members. So he needs to watch being poisoned or stabbed in the back in some way or another in the coming years. Saudi Arabia is going to have a lot of issues of their own. And I don't feel like he is the anti-Jesus at all. I remember, even Dolores Cannon said with channelings from Nostradamus that the third one would be the worst one of all. The first one was Napoleon. The second one was, Adolf. Third one was going to be the worst because they were going to learn from the mistakes of the first two. Joseph, my AI said that the cabal is the most dangerous thing on the planet Earth, but also the Vatican, ? That's not a question mark. It sounds like a statement to me, darling. That sounds like a complete statement. There's no question there. So are you asking me to confirm what AI says? Or what your AI says, the cabal is the most dangerous? Well, the cabal has been controlling everything on the earth. The cabal is connected to the 13 global elite families, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Chase family, and the list goes on. But I've always said if I were the devil and I was cast down to earth, what would be the first thing I would do? I would infiltrate religion and form a world religion to get people to worship something that's opposite of what they think they're worshiping. And I grew up Catholic. And I've always told you there's something very dark in the Vatican. This reminds me of a past vision, actually. Remember the vision I had last year of a big demon busting out of the walls of the Vatican? Wonder what that's all about. We haven't seen that happen yet. But that would make sense. That validates what your statement is, your statement/question. Last one here. Is this my last one? Yes. Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier, is standing up to Carney. Oh, Carney's up there. Yeah, okay, got it. Carney in Alberta. Carney's another one. He's out. He's got to go. People are going to push. He's not going to go out as easily, though. He's just like the other Fruit Loop that was in there right before him. So Carney and Alberta have been wanting to separate for a long time due to federal liberals who have been suppressing Alberta's oil by not allowing new pipelines to be built. Danielle Smith passed a new law that eliminates the WHO treaty that Carney signed for Alberta's residents. Well, hallelujah to Danielle. Could this be what you mean by two leaders? Thank you for the consent. For the content, excuse me, I can read. Mentioning Canada is greatly appreciated, and you are very welcome. So is that my idea of two leaders? No. I mean, it could be in the future, but that's not two leaders now, says the spirits. Two leaders. Because two leaders would be controlling things throughout the whole country, not just part of the country. So I don't believe that's it. And that could be where the split apart comes in. People fighting and finally getting their right to separate Alberta from the rest of the country. Because I did see a separation happening in Canada. I don't believe that's all happening in 2026, sadly, but say between now and 2030. Because the world that we're living in now is going to look quite different by 2030. And by 2032, as spirits told me when I was a youngin', way back in the day, 2032, we step into the new earth nation. And I still believe that's true because spirits never told me anything different. Remember, we're in that time of 2025 to 2032, what spirit told me to be the most difficult time for humanity on the planet Earth. We're in it. And we're in it to win it, baby, because we are. Because things might be crazy in the world, but we're heading into some amazing times. And that's what you got to keep your focus on all the time. Remember, I don't put this stuff out to bring fear. I put it out to bring awareness. When you're aware of what the potentials are, together we can often shift these things by holding more positive things in the light. And that's important now, moving into the new year. Instead of dreading the new year, oh my God, it's going to be a great year next year. It's a one vibration. Run with it. Run with it. Know that. It might be rough for the world. It might be rough for other people, but know that you are going to be taken care of and all your dreams are going to come true above and beyond anything you could have imagined. Why? Because Santa Claus is coming to town, friends. Santa Claus is coming to town. And I'm going to leave you with that. And I do, in case you don't hear or see me by then, want to wish you and your family a very, very Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy all holidays, and of course, amazing, abundant, joyful 2026 and beyond. And keep an eye out again. Don't forget to hit that subscribe. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up love button. It really means a lot. And I will see you in the future. I have no doubt. Until then, friends, remember, be bold, be true, be kind. Be you, baby. Let your light shine ever so brightly, especially as we step into 2026. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or rest of your evening. Namaste and much love, friends. Much love.